Hey everybody, hope you guys are all doing okay. Welcome back to Let's Play Siralim Ultimate. And in today's episode, before we get going, we're gonna have a bit of a talk, a bit of a serious chat, some real talk. Now this is in part uh, a response to the various frustrations I experienced at the end of last episode, um, but mainly it's more of just me trying to figure out what it is that causes good video games to do dumb things, which is a blunt way to put it. As much as I love this game, it isn't perfect, and as much as I love patch 2.0, there are things in it that I that it's hard to see the justification for. Now, I don't want to, you know, alarm anybody. I don't want to be like, oh, this game's going downhill. No, on the whole, this game is still excellent. On the whole, patch 2.0 is still great. There's a few little things that I find worrying. And before I get into the issues with this game, I want to open up with actually uh, something that's a little bit different, but that is gonna tie in, I promise you. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna show you a conversation I had with Chat GPT a few days ago. I asked it a question about Diablo 2 because I was reminiscing about the old days of Diablo 2. So I asked it one specific question: why does the Durance of Hate suck so much on Hell difficulty? Now, for those who don't know, the Durance of Hate is the dungeon that leads up to the Act 3 boss in Diablo 2, the Act 3 boss being Mephisto, and specifically, I should have specified the... I forget which level it is, but the level before you get to Durance of Fate level 3, so probably level 2. Yep. Chat GPT knows. Durance of Hate level 2 is the one with the waypoint, and the one with the stairs. And the issue with Durance of Fate level 2 is that it's just too big. It is just too big, it takes too long, and because it's so big, because it's so long, it forces every single character in the game to either have some sort of teleport, which is difficult to do, right? You can buy a teleport staff, but it's not a great option. In actual practical terms, what it meant was that every single player was now just going to play the sorceress, because the sorceress had access to the teleport, and the teleport was the only way to get this done in reasonable time. Now, so that's the background. This dungeon, that sucks, and here's what sucks about it. Now then, the follow-up question is, well, why does it suck, right? So, in the Diablo 2 community, there was a persistent rumor slash urban legend slash conspiracy theory that the Durance of Fate was deliberately made this way to artificially make it longer for players to get through this dungeon. And the reasons given were, like, they would range from, well, it was done to counter bots, although if you think about it, that doesn't really make sense. If you, like, think about how bots work, making a dungeon bigger isn't really going to affect bots very much. Another explanation was, well, they're artificially raising the playtime so that, you know, they can put it like somewhere higher up in the corporate chain. Somebody was evaluating somebody based on playtime, so they did that for that reason, to get a bonus or whatever. So those kinds of explanations popped up, but the problem is that there's really no evidence that this actually happened, which, you know, is the gist of the follow-up question that I asked. I said, is it true that the Durance of Fate was deliberately made worse to make it hard to farm? And it ChatGPT's answer is actually very diplomatic here. It's like, yes, it seems like it, but there's no actual evidence that it was done that way. But the reason it was such a popular conspiracy theory was because Blizzard was a big company, and whenever a big company does something that seems weird or that seems like it's a mistake, it's very easy to just be like, oh, corporate greed is what caused this, right? And the hidden assumption is that if corporate greed wasn't an issue, then this game would not have had this problem, right? What was the point of laying all that out? Well, the point was that in the golden age of indie games that we're living through, a lot of good things have happened. A lot of amazing works of art have been created that I don't think would have seen if we were relying on big corporations to be the gatekeeper, spoon feeding us every single thing. A lot of these things are just like passion projects from sometimes just individual developers working alone. And a lot of amazing things have popped up. But one thing that hasn't gone away is the kinds of problems that Diablo 2 had. And we can... Well, first of all, the fact that games still have problems is a little bit disappointing, but I guess, not that surprising. But the other thing is, we can't use the same easy excuses that we did when people were talking about Blizzard, that, oh, it's just some hidden corporate agenda, that they knew how to make a good game and deliberately did it this way to suit some nefarious, like it's capitalism is at fault here, right? It's very easy to fall down that little rabbit hole, but the thing is, in the past few years when I've played indie games, and I guess two major examples, one would be Siralim, another one would be Slay the Spire, even something like Blueprints, which I haven't played yet, but I've watched playthroughs of it. I notice like aspects of the gameplay that are just not good. And they stick out because the games are so good, right? And so I went back to the drawing board. I was like, okay, well, what are the reasons that cause games to have certain kinds of blemishes in them? And I think it's a really long-winded way of saying it, but I think I have an answer. So I mentioned at the end of last episode that I would finally go back to the forums and leave some feedback. I actually did end up doing it. It was very cathartic. But then I thought about the fact that I've been playing this game for multiple years, hundreds, like more than 1,000 hours. I've only gone to leave feedback in the Discord maybe 4 or 5 times. And the reason is because it just feels like a lot of work, right? It just feels like a lot of work. And even as someone who's spent this much time in the game, the idea of taking time out of my day to post, like to start a thread on some aspect of the game, even if I'm 100% sure that my suggestion will improve the game, just the idea of doing it just feels like so much work. And I know that I'm not alone. because most people who play this game will not leave feedback. And that's fine. Like, we're all busy, we've got jobs, we've got other games that we're playing. If we were on every single Discord for every single game, leaving feedback for every single little thing that we thought, we would just not get anything else done in our lives. So the alternative to that is, okay, well, the few people who are passionate enough about the game to leave feedback, hopefully that is gonna be a substitute for most people not doing it. Like, these brave guys leaving feedback are gonna be the ones that are like representing the rest of us. But what I've learned, especially from Slay the Spire, but a little bit in this game, less so than Slay the Spire, but if you read through the suggestions, you will see elements of this as well. Is that often the people leaving feedback are people who have been playing the game for a long time. And you might think, okay, well, that's a good thing. Aren't those the kinds of people who should be leaving feedback because they know more about the game? And on one level, that is correct. But on another level, when you've been playing the game for a very long time, it warps your sense of... Well, maybe warps is not the wrong word, but you are in a very different spot compared to somebody who's quote-unquote only played the game for 50 hours, right? And specifically, I'm thinking that there's a trend of people who play the game for a long time and then get bored of it, and then their idea of how to fix the game or how to improve the game is to make the game more difficult. And oftentimes, because people like these are disproportionately more likely to leave their feedback, what ends up happening is games end up being made more difficult. Slay the Spire, I think, is a great example because most people, I don't think, enjoy... Well, Ascension 20 we can leave aside, that's a separate kettlefish. But, like, let's think about the Silent in particular. The Silent's early game is so mind-numbingly, like, bad because of how underpowered the character is, because the character not only does no damage, but has the lowest health and the worst starting deck. It's a horrible experience, and as far as I can tell, it's like this because at some point in late early access, there were people who thought that the Silent was too strong, and instead of... I don't even know if it's true if the Silent was ever strong, but what we ended up with was a character that it's just not fun to play for people who aren't the kinds of folks who will memorize every single thing and play optimally from the get-go, right? So all of this is to say, if you're playing this game, chances are you aren't playing it as much as I do. Chances are, if you're playing the game and if there's some part of it that you're not enjoying, especially if there's some part of it that you're not enjoying because you feel like it's needlessly too difficult, I encourage you to go to the Discord and leave a suggestion. Some people are leaving suggestions about things that the game has done in patch 2.0 that have made the early game just not welcoming for new players. I'm reading a lot about especially like one-hit KO mechanics, which I no longer have to deal with because I'm so late into the game and I've built my party to be so resilient. But does look like things like this have become a problem for newer players. And I can understand why it became this way, because the kinds of people who are gonna even participate in a beta, much less participate in it and regularly type out messages detailing things that are gonna improve the game, are also the kinds of people who have spent so long playing the game that their level of game knowledge makes the game so easy for them that it's easy for them to say that, oh, the way to fix this game is to make it harder. But they've lost sight of what it felt like to be playing the game for the first time, and if they could be sent back in time, or if their memories could be erased, if they could play the game for the first time with the changes that they've proposed, they almost certainly would not enjoy the game as much, because it's coming from such a like a privileged, like, it feels silly to use that word, but like a privileged vantage point of someone who just had the hundreds of hours to sink into the game to the point where they now know so much about it. And I'll be honest, there are times when I've felt this way, especially when fighting false gods, killing them in one hit. I'm like, ooh, it's a little bit too easy. Maybe it should be made harder. But I usually haven't verbalized those things, even while I'm playing, because I'm always remembering the first time when I encountered these false gods, and how hard it was to learn how to beat them. And for me, after sinking 1,000 hours into the game, to say that, ooh, these false gods are so easy, in order to make the game more challenging for me, we should do something that makes them harder, while ignoring the fact that this would also completely change the experience for somebody who's only just now starting to play the game, and almost certainly is going to make it a worse experience for them. I think that, that's the main reason why I don't say stuff like this, like, oh, this boss is too easy, because even though it wouldn't change the experience that much for me, it would make it a little bit of a worse experience for somebody who's getting into the game right now. But the problem is, because there's such a systematic bias in the kinds of people who leave feedback, who are even motivated enough to leave feedback, they're disproportionately more likely to be people who have played the game for a long time and who have strong opinions, and I think they're disproportionately more likely to be the kinds of people who become experts in the game, but then don't realize that they're experts, and then start thinking that the game is too easy. And then, because the developer is more likely to see those comments compared to normal people who just play the game maybe a few hours a week, and, even 6 months later don't have more than 100 hours in the game, those people, when they experience something about the game that they don't enjoy, are less likely to motivate themselves to leave feedback, and sometimes will just quietly stop playing the game altogether. So I'm starting to ramble a little bit, but the point I'm trying to make, and this is the point that you should take away from this, is that if you're playing a game, whether it's Siralim, whether it's some new deck builder, whatever game it is, especially if it's an indie game where the feedback from the players is really important, if you have the time, you should definitely leave your feedback, because right now we're in a situation where there's just too much of an asymmetry in terms of who's leaving the feedback, and we're getting, not just in this game but in other games, too much feedback from people who play the game maybe a little bit too long and then start thinking that the game is too easy, and then the games start being changed in ways that make them hostile towards people who don't have, 20 hours a week to play, who don't have enough mental energy to memorize every single thing in the game. And if we were getting more feedback from people who are maybe not that deep into the game, I think that would actually make games even better, right? Again, it's counterintuitive because you would think that a person who's played the game for 2,000 hours is going to leave the best kind of feedback, but now I've kind of done a 180 on that. Now I think the person who's played the game for 2,000 hours is gonna leave the worst kind of feedback because their feedback is gonna be so tainted by the fact that they've just done everything in the game. And the person who's gonna leave the best kind of feedback is the person who's in the 20 to 50 hour range. Like, they know enough about the basic mechanics, and they're just going based on how the game feels. Like, is there some part of the game that feels too hard? Is there some part of the game that feels just too frustratingly long? And we need more feedback of that kind in Siralim, because certainly, from what I can see, there were changes made in 2.0 with the one-hit KO mechanics and probably other mechanics that just, like, it's, if I was starting a new game, stuff like that, I would not be happy about it. So all that is to say, if you're playing the game, even if you're not playing the game for too long, I think, sometimes we get conditioned into thinking that our feedback isn't worth a lot. There's, like, a lot of, well, not that much in this community, but the idea of, oh, you're just a filthy casual. You don't know enough about the game. Your opinion doesn't count. No, I would say that's exactly why your opinion does count, because you know enough about the game that you can leave valuable feedback, but you're not so deep into the game that your brain's just been melted by the fact that you know every single little interaction in the game, right? So it was a long ramble. I spent 20 minutes just talking and not doing anything, but I feel like, hang on, I'm trying to close the browser because I don't need it anymore. Yeah, I needed to say that just because I feel like there needs to be the casuals need to rise up and assert more control in the video game discourse, because I think that's going to be the only way that games not only get better, but stop falling into these traps that end up making themselves worse. And that is thank you for coming to my TED Talk, and with that out of the way, we can play. Okay. Now I've completely lost track of what we need to do. What we need to do. Buried treasure probably isn't gonna happen. Forage mission is gonna happen. Pilgrimage, I'll think about it. Creature kills, maybe. We'll see. So now we just gotta pivot from that angry rant into hopefully less angry gameplay. Okay. The worst we get greeted by our very worst, the worst possible pandemonium encounter. But, you know what? Hey, we get a duplicate card. Now, one suggestion a lot of people have left is that... Excuse me, what? Oh, the leech. There's a leech. Right. So one suggestion people have left is that they don't like the fact that duplicate cards show up, like they get the same loot treatment as regular cards. And I agree with that. I enjoy finding duplicate cards, but I also want to know if a card is a duplicate or not, because I want to know if I've made progress towards completing the new card album. And as we've seen in the past couple episodes, we're already starting to see duplicates for new cards. Excuse me? The fuck? So what is wrong with this round? Extra fucking traits. Are you serious, dude? Are they? Hang on a second. Oh my god, dude. Oh my god. Okay, that was really dumb. That was really fucking dumb. But yeah, duplicate cards, I feel like it would be fine if... Like, literally, if you just found a card, and if it was a new card, then there should just be... In parenthesis, it should say new, right? So, like, we just found that Blobarian card. That was an old card that we already had. So that's fine. Like, either... Motherfucker. Either on duplicate cards it should say duplicate, or on new cards it should say new. Man, what? Motherfucker, why is... Chance to... Chance to dodge? Are you serious, dude? But we have dreadnoughts. Hang on, man. What? Oh, what the fuck is wrong with this round? I don't know, man. I'm already just ready to be done. Extra traits. I feel like extra traits is another one of those round properties that the game would just be better if it just no longer existed. Now, and one instinctive thing might be, well, oh no, the game would be too... No, it doesn't change the difficulty of the game very much. Maybe very early on, okay, it makes the game a little bit more difficult, but even very early on, it just makes the game annoying, right? Like, and it wastes so much of your time, because so much of these traits just result in lots of actions happening, and time being wasted, and I don't think, like, there's enough of a, like, a real, genuine, like, good faith challenge element in it. So this is one of those things where if you're playing the game, and you're maybe a few dozen hours into it, and you've just unlocked realm instability, it would make instability a little bit more accessible. And when you're deep into the game, it would make the game less annoying. I think it's just a win-win, right? And keeping it in, unfortunately, I think is the result of that toxic mentality of people getting a really warped sense of game, like a warped sense of game balance that results in them thinking that a perfectly okay game is quote-unquote too easy. I'm not dealing with extra traits. So it's a bit of an issue with like excuse me, with turn-based games, because if the game is a puzzle that can be solved, then theoretically one person can solve it and then everybody can just look up what their solution is. And if a game also has a reputation for being a challenging game, Slay the Spire definitely also had this problem, then sometimes as a developer you just have to accept that players will sometimes either they'll figure stuff out or they'll look stuff up, and then if they want to play that way and then the game's just going to be easy, that's fine. But then other players who are playing blind and figuring stuff out on their own will have the ideal experience. Unfortunately, what happens is, because there are players who, after 2,000 hours in a game and with an encyclopedic memory of every single interaction in the game, will find like one or two, like a handful of builds that it's easy to win the game with, they'll then start making noise like, oh, this game is too easy. If you play with this build, the game's too easy. And then, in order to make the game more difficult for people like that, the game ends up being made more difficult for every single person who will ever play. And then new players will have no... Like, there will be no way to justify it to a new player why the game is, in fact, that difficult. Right? So, not to relitigate the whole spiel that I gave, but I think things like keeping in extra traits feels like it's only there to satisfy like hardcore difficulty junkies. I don't think there's any new player that asked for anything like this to be added into the game. Like, oh, like, I don't think there's any player in the 50 to 100 hour playtime range that was playing and thought, ooh, this game is too easy. What would make it more fun? Oh, I don't know. What if enemies just did random shit, completely random shit, that most of the time didn't even do anything, 10% of the time made battles unwinnable through no fault of my own, and 70% of the time just wastes my time without adding any, interesting, anything interesting, challenge or otherwise. So that, like, stuff like this gets shoehorned into video games because people just can't let a good thing just stay. They gotta find reasons to nitpick, and unfortunately, if you've played a game for 1,000 hours, you will find the dumbest reasons. You will have some good advice, to be sure, about how to fix the game, but you will also have some pretty dumb ideas, which you had precisely because you played the game a little bit too long and are a little bit too familiar with it. And with that, I think let's just close the book on this discussion topic. I feel like I've said what I needed to say. And let's just continue on with the episode. Now, what... Keyforge, we can hold off on handing that in. Alright. Man, come on, extra traits again. Oh, God. Extra motherfuck, dude, man, what? Excuse me? Oh, oh my god, they're... Oh, fucking invisible, dude. Oh my god, this is fucking dumb, dude. This is fucking dumb, dude. This is fucking dumb, dude. Oh, I'm already on tilt because I did actually... Excuse me? I'm not dealing with this nonsense. I'm not dealing with this fucking nonsense. Yeah, unfortunately, there's too much stuff in the game that results in this, where the best thing to do in terms of not only saving your own time, but not having to deal with bullshit, is you just forfeit the realm and you start a new one. And, like I said, I did leave feedback saying that protected elites should be removed from the game. I don't know if I remember... I don't remember if I specifically left feedback about the extra traits property being removed from a game, but I'm sure other people have. Motherfucker. I definitely left feedback about the chance to resist damage being removed. This is fucking garbage, dude. Like, what is the point of the 35%? Oh, I didn't want to talk to this piece of shit. Like, what is the point of what is the point of... Whatever, dude. This is... this is fucking dumb. Like, yo, what is the point of the 35% chance to resist damage? Is that a... Oh my god, are you... Like, what is the point of the fact that, like, 4 moves in a row that guy didn't take damage? Was there some reason the fight needed to last? Fuck off. Yeah. So, but yeah. This is exactly the reason why, if you're playing the game, even if you're not a, even if you don't think you're an expert, even if you think you're casual, you need to go and leave your feedback if you can. Because if you don't, the feedback is going to be dominated by people who've spent 3,000 hours in the game and who think that the only way to make the game more interesting to them is to just make it more difficult. As opposed to maybe, you know, taking a break and playing a different game. And it's because people like that are disproportionately more likely to leave their feedback that games end up with. Well, maybe the initial decision to leave the 35%, like the damage avoidance thing, maybe that was from, like, you know, the developer, you know, like in good faith. Maybe the dev just... Fuck off, dude. Are you fucking kidding me, man? Like, maybe the dev thought, oh, this is a fun thing to put in a game. It's a... No, it's not fun, but maybe the dev initially didn't realize what a bad thing it was. But the only reason stuff like this stay in video games is because there's, like, probably one person on the Discord who probably left a comment like, ooh, if you have a... like, this one really convoluted setup where if you got a 6x casting of a one-hit kill on the enemy, then it... Ooh, hey, is that a new card? That's a new card. Yeah, but like, there's probably some weird guy out there who left a comment who's like, oh, hey, no, if you cast, that one spell where... Or, like, one of the spells where enemies are just killed, which isn't considered doing damage. And then if you have this really weird convoluted setup that requires, you know, like netherstone traits on top of anointments, on top of all kinds of other things, then it doesn't matter if enemies are dealing with, like, avoiding damage. Or something like that. Like, there's gonna be some guy who's like, oh, no, it's not a flaw in the game, it's just the fact that you haven't played the game for 5,000 hours like I have. Like, so in order to ensure that people like those aren't setting the agenda, you gotta make your voices heard as well. So I just want to see, how far are we from a pilgrimage? We're very close to a pilgrimage. Okay. How far are we from a forage? We're very close to a forage. Okay. Well, I guess we'll do that then. I guess I'll talk to you. Caustic is Venedon, and we're just gonna move on. And where is the exit? Because I just wanna skip combat because it's just not fun. It's just not fun dealing with this. So let's just go to New Realm. Okay. 350 is enough to take into another boss fight. Okay, and for once, we don't... Oh, motherfuck, there's extra. Well, this is fucking dumb, but... But, you know what? I guess we'll just suffer through it in stoic silence, because what else are we gonna do? We also need to find a... Fuck. This is it. See now, notice how many times they cast their spells and did exactly nothing. So this is what the cast additional times thing results in. Most of the time, the spell that the enemy casts... Like, what? Yeah, most of the times the spells the enemies cast don't even do anything. They literally only waste your time and do nothing else, which is why, again, the game would be better if that was removed. Instead of casting 12 times, have them cast one time, that is, and make that one-time cast stronger. If you have to have that in the game at all, which it's debatable whether it should even be like that, because I know that the make the game more difficult, get more rewards mechanic is a tried and true one in lots of video games, but it requires really fine balancing. Alright. Alright. That's a forge mission ready to hand in. Training mission ready to hand in. But we need to hand in a pilgrimage as well. Why is that taking so long? Well, it won't take long because we just found our final thing. So now we can, at our leisure, go home and hand in our Rune of Prophecies. Alright. Ooh, these weather effects. Is it the weather effects, or this time it might be Windows doing some shenanigans in the background. But I think the weather effects are also slightly contributing. Yeah, this is really slow, dude. Let me check. Let me actually check. It's so slow that I'm gonna open up Task Manager. And I predict that it's gonna be the Windows installer module helper that is to blame. Well, it's gone now, whatever it was that was causing the issue. But it was probably Windows. Let's just be honest with ourselves. And sometimes these weather effects also slow things down a little bit. But on the whole, I like them because they do look really nice. Right, so let's hand in our stuff. Pilgrimage done. Forge done. And we didn't get the buried treasure, and I'm not gonna wait to try and get that. Let's see, let's hand in our Rune of Prophecies. 10 more lines. The next rune is asking us to find a treasure golem, which we can do. And I think one key forge mission, okay. I think we're just gonna accept this Rune of Prophecies because it seems pretty good. 4 Nether Realms might be tough, but you know, could happen. 3 buried treasures could also happen. 1 treasure golem is gonna be annoying, but you don't have to kill the treasure golem. You can just encounter him and then forfeit, which we'll probably end up doing. Ooh, I nearly handed in my Goblet of Trials, but we don't need to hand that in right now. We do need to fight Vulcanar, which I'll quickly do. Alright, Valky boy. Let's take you out. But yeah, one small addendum. There was a thought that I was building up when I was giving my rant, which I didn't fully flesh out. And the thought was that in turn-based video games, as opposed to, like, so a game like Super Meat Boy. Yes, people have figured out the optimal strategies. People have even figured out glitches that you can exploit, or different things that you can do to get the hard parts of the game, get through the hard parts of the game quicker. But ultimately, there is some minimal level of physical skill that you need in order to play the game. Now, in order to play a turn-based game, if you're playing it blind, there is still a level of skill or some sort of intuition needed to figure out, well, how do I play the game? How do I learn how to play the game? How do I learn how to do the game better? But once you figure something out, like once you learn some interaction, generally speaking, unless you get some sort of traumatic brain injury and like you lose your memories, once you learn something, you've learned it for good. But because knowledge is so distributed these days, What this means is once anybody learns something, theoretically, now everybody knows that thing. What this also means is that for people who don't want to go through the part about learning the game for themselves, they can just skip to the end and coast on what other people have learned. And for developers who make turn-based games, I think sometimes they get annoyed by the fact that people have quote-unquote figured their game out. And I don't know why they do that. I mean, I understand instinctively, like on an intuitive level, why they might feel that way, but also you should be able to then think for another couple of seconds and be like, that was my alarm going off. Yep, but you should also be able to think for another couple of seconds and be like, oh, that's not a rational issue for me to have. We still don't have enough to do even one nether synthesis, so I'll just start a pilgrimage. Let me just make sure we don't need to do any specific projects. We don't. It doesn't look like it. But yeah. So developers get this chip on their shoulder, like, oh, people have figured out how to play. They get angry at the fact that people have figured out how to play their game. And because in a turn-based game, there's really no physical skill involved, the only way for them to solve the quote-unquote problem of people knowing how to play their game is to just make the game more difficult. But because there's really no skill involved, and like the moment anybody figures something out, everybody knows it, unfortunately, the solution that a lot of developers choose, Slay the Spire went down this route. I don't know about Monster Train, Slay the Spire 100% chose this route. And it seems like Siralim is also choosing this route, is that they just introduce things into the game that arbitrarily lower the likelihood of players winning, even if players play optimally. It's sort of like, aha, you thought you had a you thought you had completely solved my game, but no matter how broken your build is, there's always a chance that you lose. So to counter those people, things are introduced into the game that just flat out lower everybody's chance of succeeding, even if they're playing well. And that's not difficulty. All you're doing is just arbitrarily lowering the chance that the game is gonna be not just winnable, but playable. There's a famous seed in Slay the Spire, which if you play the Silent, is literally unwinnable. There's nothing you can do because there's an early Lagavulin fight. There's nothing you can do to win. Literally nothing you can do to win because of how badly that character is balanced. And devs put stuff like that in video games. Again, it would be better if they just understood, like if they just got it out of their system and be like, okay, this is not a good thought process to have, but it just persists and it just won't die. That developers every once in a while, and they're enabled by the fact that they're getting feedback from people disproportionate feedback from people who've been playing the game for thousands of hours and who, instead of moving on to another game, are like, oh, let me think of ways to make the game more interesting for me, and what makes the game more interesting for me is if the game's more difficult. So that becomes like a vicious spiral. So yeah, so turn-based games in particular are subject to this thing where the devs just get angry that people know how to play their game, and then they just make the game... what they think they're doing is they're making the game harder, but what is actually happening is the game's being made like worse. And it especially hits people who are new to the game, like we're learning the game. Like they'll encounter all kinds of really dumb fucking things, and then when they complain about them in the forums, people are like, oh, you just don't understand why this mechanic is in the game. It was in this game because of this weird, like, end game interaction. But no, like, there's nothing wrong with the person complaining. The person complaining, the new player complaining, was actually 100% correct in their observation that this is a dumb thing. And it's the person sort of, you know, gamer-splaining to them that, oh, you don't understand what this is in the game. Like, those are the people who are just wrong. Because they're coming at it from such a warped perspective that they don't even understand that they're unwittingly making the game balance worse. The idea that the whole game should be made more difficult in incomprehensible ways. Like, somebody who's new to the game, there's no way you'll be able to justify to them why it's like that. And the idea that it has to be like that to make the game slightly more interesting for somebody in the end game is like, I'm not gonna say it's the biggest problem in the world right now, because there might be one or two, maybe just one or two things going on in the world right now that are maybe a little bit more of an issue than balancing in turn-based indie games. But nevertheless, it's a thing. It's one of the bad, like, habits that games and game devs get stuck in, which just really annoys me. And I just wish we could collectively just get it out of our system and just mutually agree to just never do these things ever again. It's probably not gonna happen, right? But you know what? You know what? I'm still gonna dream. Right, so I don't want to... Oh, these weather effects are brutal, man. Oh, hello. Trait and double trait. So we'll take a look at those. Gains a minion. Ooh, actually, hang on. I'm gonna lock this because this could help when we're minion farming. And then there's something in the 300s with one trait. Misery loves company, more base stats. I mean, I'll lock it just because maybe it doesn't say excluding health, so you know. So that's something that makes it valuable, because usually things that give you stat gains will then have also a thing that says, oh, but it doesn't apply to health because fuck you. So we need to kill 16 candle enemies. But let me see. So we need to kill a lot of nature creatures, not that many life creatures, not that many death creatures, a lot of sorcery creatures. So let's summon nature and sorcery. So, you know, spell jugglers. Let's try and get the candle stuff done in this realm if we can. And we need nature creatures, so I'll just those as well. And now we just need to summon like one more group and then just go around killing these guys. Okay. My god, dude, stop it. Okay, so we need to clear a bit of... Please fucking stop it, dude. We need to clear a bit of room in the realm. Alright. Yeah, so this is gonna be a long episode because I went on such a long tirade, a 20-minute rant at the beginning, but I felt like it was justified. And then I got a lot of stuff off my chest, and like, if I can just get it out of my system in one go, then hopefully I won't feel the need to talk about it in subsequent episodes, and then we can just focus on the game. Alright. Alright, let's go down, yoink this. We need to find one more coin. And that's gonna wrap up our realm quest. Have we fought... Motherfucker, stop it, dude. Have we fought the master of the realm? Yes, we have. Right, so this should complete our prophecy objective. No card from these creatures. Alright. Okay. Yeah, the weather effects... Something about them... maybe there's a way to better optimize them. I don't know how the game is coded. I know very little about coding in general. But given that the dev did such a good job of optimizing the saving and loading, I mean, maybe there's a way to keep the weather effects, but not have them have such a big impact. Oh yeah, like on a computer it's noticeable, but apparently if you're playing the game on a phone, you just have to have weather effects disabled, because otherwise it'll just be unplayable. And certain effects do seem to be a lot more intense than others. This is our first false god fight. .392 is going to be good enough to take to a random realm. Do we have to answer Riddle Dwarf questions correctly? We do not. Okay. Angry Orchard is probably nature. Alright. We do need to encounter a lot of exotic realms. A lot of exotic realms, because we need a lot of the exotic currency. And we just, it's... Let me see if I turn weather effects off. Yeah. I want to keep weather effects on, but it's... I'll keep weather effects on. Especially since I'm pretty sure that right now the frame rate issues aren't entirely due to the game. Pretty sure at least partially it's due to Windows. Maybe I just like need to restart my computer. That's also a possibility. Sometimes things are just slow and then I restart and then they're quicker. Oh my god. Protected, really, dude? Extra traits, really, dude? Really, dude? See, this is another example of a change that doesn't make a lot of sense. What's gonna happen with changing this from 10% to 5% is that nobody is ever gonna take this ever again for the rest of it. For the rest of the game. Nobody's ever gonna take this, oh, false god. Like, why would you ever want to go through a fight that's that long? Even the 10% one was too long. Instead of making it 5%, they should have raised it to 20%. It wasn't too easy, it was already too annoying. But the game was taken in the wrong direction because of this whole, ooh, the game needs to be harder. People with 3,000 plus hours in the game are finding it too easy to deal with the false gods. Therefore, we need to do something that makes the game worse for everybody. Okay. That's the, man, fuck off. Yeah. That change just made no sense at all. It made no sense. Invoke, cast Greater Dispel, cast Wormhole, cast Wormhole. You know what? Cast Archangel. Excuse me, cast Life Orb. Oh, cast Wormhole. Yeah, this boss is just not. He should not resurrect, dude. He should not resurrect if you have burned their corpses. It's just really dumb. It's just really fucking dumb. It's just really dumb, but it's over. And can you imagine doing that fight and being like, oh, the boss can't take more than 5% of his health? Like, who... If there is a person playing this game who left that suggestion during the beta, that person should be, first of all, banned from the Siralim Discord. Second of all, should probably be in jail and have his internet privileges revoked for the rest of his life. If that change was made as the result of somebody's feedback, then that person, I'm sorry, you forfeited the right to have any sort of engagement with the world of gaming just for the rest of your life. Ooh, is this a new card? I mean, it might be. It's one of the new creatures. But, I mean, we can take a look. Spell juggler. Yeah, that was a new card. Right. That's pretty good. There probably was some douchebag, wasn't there? Who was like, I've seen false gods are too easy. False gods. There probably was. There probably were multiple assholes who were like, I've been playing this game for 7,000 hours now, and here's my advice. False gods are too easy. There probably were people like that. God, I get... even the thought just makes me so angry. Like the audacity, man. Just... how dare they? Oh, the game is really struggling. Oh, the game is really struggling. The game is really struggling, and where the fuck is my, Oh, it's up. It was right. It was right by the candle the whole time. And so I have to head home. I have to set a new bounty. Who are we setting a bounty against? Jotun. I don't mind Jotun. We do need to kill Jotun a bunch of times. Just because there's a lot of anointments we need to get through him. So let's just keep on going. What, 390? Alright. This is an okay realm, looks like. We got it. It's really... I think... excuse me. First of all, I should drink some water. Second of all, I probably should just restart my computer. But we're too deep into this now. I don't want to, like, have to split this into multiple videos. Oh, mimic fight? We're a loser. That's all we got out of that. We could have gotten some nice stuff, but you know what? That's okay. Alright. Oh my god, stop it. Fucking stop it, dude. Alright. So you are one of the new masters. Please stop it. Alright. Where are these altars? Excuse me? Like, I haven't seen a single one? Like, what? Where are they, man? Well, there's one. Where are they, dude? Okay, here's one. Here's one. Alright. Now we're getting... There's one. And there's one. And before we move on to the next realm, let's just look around for some stuff. And let's check to see if we've donated. We have. Or before we move on to the next round, I just want to pop back home because we gotta. We've got to get rid of some nether stones. I don't want them to pile up too much. Ooh, there's a lot of chests. I don't want them to pile up too high. Alright, yeah, the weather effects are definitely a big cause of the struggles. So we're looking for things with exclamation marks next to them, indicating that they're new. So 268 and 271. I guess that's it then. 268 and 271, pretty close to each other as well. But we gotta make sure we get the right one. That's you. And that's you. And you know what? We might as well take out the low-level ones as well, just to get a bit more of this stuff. Clean up our nether stone collection. Get a bit of piety in the process as well. But careful as we're coming up towards the trait nether stones. Make sure we don't actually accidentally take out any of them. Alright, and I think we're ready to just go. Oh, I got 362, but I botched it. I need to slow down. $358. I'm sorry, I'm not dealing with vortex enemies. I'm not dealing with vortex enemies. 419 is pretty good. Immediately, let's go inside this place. The fuck off, dude. Extra traits? Are you serious? Man, come on. Oh my god. This is gonna be a bit of an annoying realm. We gotta find ice diamonds. Which I think are these things? Yes. Okay. All of the annoying enemies are showing up. I'm tempted to turn weather effects off, but... Motherfuck off, dude. Like, look at this nonsense. Cast 11 times. Look at how much of my fucking time they wasted. Accomplishing literally nothing. There's no... like, And the cast 11 times idea should really just have been left on the cutting room floor. When you're early on in the game, it doesn't add any good challenge. All it does is it means... Ooh, nice. All it means is that sometimes you're gonna lose battles for no good reason because the enemies just cast their instant kill spell like 11 times in a row. And like you didn't have the fuck off, man. What the fuck? Oh, look. Man, come on, dude. Sorry, I'm just a little mentally drained after again another episode where we're seeing the annoying parts of this game. Unfortunately, this game, because it's built around doing random realms, and unfortunately, because there are a few too many things in this game that just make the game annoying without adding anything in compensation. Unfortunately, it means that if you have bad luck, you could have like 5, 6, 7, or like 8 or 9 out of the 10 12s that you're gonna out of the 10 8 or 9 out of the 10 rounds that you're gonna play could end up just being really annoying. And there's nothing you could have done because they just rolled that way. Other than you can just keep like forfeiting and going back in, but that's not a... Right, that's not... Surely that's not... the intended game experience, that you just give up and go to a new realm because the realm properties kept rolling into a bunch of stupid garbage nonsense. So gotta get rid of this. And then it was 342, I think. $350 is good enough to take. Alright, we got another one at you. You summoned a dumpling. Do we need to fight dumplings? We don't need to. Man, I shouldn't have gone into this fight. Yeah, I'm just gonna let them go. Our party is not equipped to fight treasure golems. Alright. I guess we'll take out the dumpling because he's right fucking there. He's right fucking there. Alright. We gotta fight a nether boss. I should have checked to see who the nether boss was. Oh no, it's gonna end up being somebody who's immune to indirect damage. I just fucking know it. I just fucking know it. Excuse me? Why are... Why were those guys so annoying? Oh, they got extra defense in this round. That's annoying. Okay, double trait. Other than health, of course. Poison doesn't really matter that much to our build. Is Genius the one that gives extra experience? Yep. Okay, who are you? Shackler is actually perfect, because Shackler is the guy who can only be killed with indirect damage. Right, we still need to find you. The Cataclysm. Alright. Alright, I think we got a book. Yeah. Let me just... grab these chests pretty quickly. And let's move on to the next realm. Realm. 353 is good enough. What we got to do, we got to find bookshelves. We're already almost done. Less damage taken, extra defense, and bards. Another really annoying realm. Could just leave. Oh, hang on a second. I didn't pick up the buried treasure in the... Does it no longer mark... Does it no longer mark the X? Man, it should still mark the X on the map. Or it should... That fucking sucks, dude. God, there's too many nether stones. Yeah, there was a treasure map that I picked up. In case you're wondering why I'm so upset. There was a treasure map that I picked up earlier, but... I didn't find the buried treasure because I just left the realm. And we could have had like 2 out of 3 buried treasures done instead. Yeah, it should mark it on the... Like, what's the point of finding the map if it doesn't actually mark it on the... Like, you see what I'm... You see what I mean? Like, what's the point of that if it's not gonna mark it on the map? $271 is good enough to take here. Hopefully we find 2 more buried treasures. Alright. We're on the verge of seeing what the level 80 bonus is for Aneltha. Glowing pits drop treasure. Well, we got that right in time to get the treasure out of that pit. Now we're even more incentivized. Not that we weren't incentivized to hit them before, because they're just like free favor, no combat even, so no downside to doing them. But now they're even better. So now we just get treasure. Alright. You know, it's also possible that OBS is being weird and slow. Sometimes that happens. Yeah, because I remember I was playing Path of Exile, and the game was playing perfectly fine, but it was only when I started recording on OBS that the frame rate got killed. But then after restarting, it was fine. I feel like OBS just occasionally... It's a free program, right? So you can't get too angry at it. It's a free program that for the most part works really well. But then it has some really weird things where it just slows things down way more than it should. And there's just no way to figure out why. Still haven't found the master. Oh my god, where? Oh, there you are. Okay. Pitworm has gone down. Okay. Yeah, these weather effects, I think, need a little bit of tweaking. Definitely. Oh, we gotta kill the pitworms. Where, hang on, where are they? Well, so one of them is here, and I think one of them is over there in the top right. Hey, there's a card. Death cards. Death cards and life cards are what we want to see more of. So that was nice. So let's yoink these guys. Alright. New realm? That's a good bonus, and we are going to be fighting Jotun. Of course, it's extra traits. Why wouldn't it be? Xantai as well. Well, let's fight Jotun before we fight Xantai. Oh. Less damage taken is fucking dumb. I'll just get Zanta out of the way early. Okay, let's do an Archangel's Blessing and just get you killed. Alright, Nethermancer Ned is now going to have some nether stones for us to buy. A double trait. I mean, this is a triple trait. So I'll buy this. I'll buy this. I'll buy that. And I won't buy those. You are Nethermancer Ned, right? No, you're different. You're a different guy. Oh, he just looks like it's Demo. It's a different person. It's a different person. They just looked alike. Oh, you know what? That's fine. I will not put the boss at the top of the timeline because that just results in a bunch of nonsense. Like you can just do a party wipe on you. I will take the 7 debuffs because most of the bad ones we should be able to deal with. Give him more defense. Just let that treasure golem go. No need to mess with him. Where the fuck is this portal? There it is. Okay. I guess I'll talk to you first. Oh my god, dude, are you serious? Man, they all lost their... Fucking hell, this is so annoying. Okay. Well, that was a quick fight. Alright, so before we end this episode, we're gonna have to look through our nether stones. Take a random one. And our treasure gives us. Eeping treasure gives us. Just a bunch of nature called reputation. Right, we're up past 2200. And that is our 90th realm quest taken out with the antiquarian. Alright, boys. Well, before we end, I guess we might as well try and get a bit more treasure out of these dudes. There's another crappy nether stone. Alright. Alright. I don't want this treasure golem to run into me. There is an issue with treasure golems just running into people. It's a bit of a problem. But we'll not worry about that right now because we are at the end of the episode. So 210 has no trait on it. .346 has no trait on it. This is one of the ones we bought. Attacks. This creature's attacks and spells ignore 40% of its enemy's defense. Honestly, it's pretty good. What does favoriting do? It just gives it another icon. I don't know what... I'm sure there's use cases for favoriting, but I'm not like to help you organize your nether stones, but I'm too tired right now to think about that. Let me just get this done. So 354. There's the double trait that we bought. After an enemy is resurrected, okay, current health. That seems kind of useless. But then we also bought a triple trait. Can't cast spells manually. After it defends, it targets... It casts one of its spells that targets all of your creatures. Right, useless. Attacks an ally, useless. Waspid, useless. So that turned out to be a bit of a waste. I didn't want to hand that in. But I don't want to have to like quit and like, you know, Control Alt Delete and then have to deal with those nether stones again. So I guess we'll just start a new assassination. We'll start a new Keyforge. We'll start nothing else. We'll go down. We'll hand in the or we'll set a new bounty. And I'm tired of fighting these annoying like Caliban and Jotun, so I'll just do Lord Prime. Okay, so let's reflect on what was accomplished this episode. I started off spending 20 minutes just yapping about the problems with game development and specifically with the difficulty creep and how it's not always just, you know, like the result of corporate greed or corporate bad decision making. It can even happen in the purest of environments, such as indie games, because people who've been playing the game for too long are also disproportionately more likely to leave feedback, and their feedback often has the effect of suggesting that the game should be made more difficult so as to make the game more interesting to them, because when you're 2,000 hours deep into a game, there's really not much more you can get out of it unless the whole game just becomes more difficult. But then if that gets done, it can really make the experience bad, not just for new players, but for anybody who isn't a difficulty junkie. And that's an issue that's happened in quite a few games in the last few years. And in Siralim Ultimate, there is a danger of the game lurching more and more towards that. The only way to fix that is if you're don't think of yourself as a casual gamer whose opinion doesn't matter. If you're playing something and if a game seems unreasonably difficult in a way that doesn't make sense, you should absolutely leave feedback. And if the reply that you get is that, oh, this change was made because of this thing that only happens in the end game and only affects people who are more than 600 hours deep into the game, then that person correcting you is actually in the wrong and you are actually in the right. You need to have confidence that you do actually understand your own experience of having played the game and not enjoyed it, right? So please, if you're playing this game and if you encounter one of the many things that was introduced in the new patch that makes the game difficult or unwinnable in some cases, and you didn't enjoy yourself, please let the developer know. Otherwise, the only people whose opinions are gonna be voiced are the people who have played the game so long that their brains are rotted and they think the only way to make it more interesting is to just arbitrarily lower everybody's chance of succeeding, even if they're playing well. So that was my little spiel at the beginning, and I will reiterate that at the end. In addition to that, we also made some progress. We got the usual set of achievements for beating masters and for completing more realms as the antiquarian. Only 10 more to go, and then we can move on to the next, because there's gonna be so many more of these achievements to get. We are only 58% of the way through the character achievements. There are almost 300 of these. So almost 3,000 realms of us just playing as different specializations. But you know what? We'll get through it. Our goal is to do the 100%. We're not gonna end until that is done. We also found a couple new cards. It takes us to 1080. Only 402 more to go. Let's also take a look at some of the long-running achievements. So how are we on Defender? Only 3,700 more defense and we'll be done with that. Or like 3,767. How are we on this? 6.2 million for Peculiar Collection. Alright, that's fine. How are we on these? Almost 42,500 in terms of resource nodes, and roughly double that for destructible objects. Right, so we're getting pretty deep into some of these achievements. And lastly, let's just check on this stuff, because we had it in a Rune of Prophecies, and that means we are now at 2,643 lines completed, 359 overall runes handed in, and generally doing pretty well on that. One of these days we're gonna have to ascend the new specializations, but I'll leave that for later. I think that's a pretty good summary of what's been accomplished and what needs to be done moving forward. And with that, I'm gonna say thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Hope Hope you had a good time. Hope you'll join me on a Thursday for the next episode. And until then, take care.